fighting game genre has now entered a renaissance. With the release of Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1 in 2023, fighting games have experienced a boom in popularity, rarely seen before. Now in 2024, Tekken 8 has been released. But how does the 3D fighter compare to its other major 2D counterparts? Hi everyone, my name is Jay, and this is my first video review here on YouTube. And I couldn't ask for a better one to begin with. Tekken 8. For those of you who have seen my first video talking about my favorite video games of all time, you'll know that I'm a big fan of fighting games. Street Fighter 6 from 2023 was easily one of my favorite games of all time, and was also one of the best fighting game packages ever put together. I've always had an interest in the series, but more so as a casual observer. Tekken is always a blast to watch, especially when it comes to high-level competition. Watching big events like EVO or Tekken World Tour was always exciting, but I could never get that deep into the game itself compared to Street Fighter. This was mostly due to Tekken 7's lackluster netcode, how long it took to get into matches, and how poorly Tekken 7 taught beginners how to play the game, with the best tutorials coming from YouTube videos created by the community. I enjoyed the series, but never had the desire to go beyond the beginner level. But with Street Fighter 6, fighting games are experiencing a massive wave in popularity. But does Tekken 8 just ride that wave? Or does it actually make changes that are worthwhile and welcoming for newcomers and experts alike? I'm happy to report that Tekken 8 doesn't just ride the wave, it swells it to tsunami-level heights. Over the past few years, fighting game fans have demanded more from game developers, and rightly so. Nowadays, it takes more than just solid gameplay design to sell copies. Fighting games can't just simply be arcade games, where the player is matched up against another player or CPU. There has to be more to the product than just the ports of the arcade version. Thankfully, Tekken 8 leans into its feature-rich package, boasting a rich story mode, plenty of playable characters, in-game tools to help players get better, and an improved online netcode. Let's start with the story mode first. Fighting game stories have historically not been the greatest, with the writing often getting weighed down by decades of established lore or plotlines that have become so convoluted over the years. But the previous entry, Tekken 7, tried to remedy that, but it still had many flaws. For me, Tekken 8's story mode is the biggest improvement over its predecessor. Tekken 7 often felt like a slog to get through in its story, with inconsistent pacing issues and sections of exposition that didn't feel necessary. Tekken 8 simplifies the story, with a much better focus on Jin Kazama and his menacing father, Kazuya. Tekken 8 doesn't suffer from any of the pacing issues as the last game, with the story going at 100 miles an hour at all times, never slowing down at any moments. Tekken 8's story is very anime-inspired, with characters flying through buildings, launching one another into space, and hitting one another with giant-sized energy bombs, all to come away with just a scratch. It's crazy, over-the-top, insane action that if you just go with it, you'll have a blast. And for those who have followed the story over the years, it is filled with a number of hype moments, extremely cool shots, and some touching character moments that make it worthwhile. It centers on Jin Kazama, learning to break the generational trauma that's been passed down from his family. As he overcomes his father, Kazuya Mishima, he learns to control the evil powers within him and not succumb to his inner demons. Tekken may not be Shakespeare, but tell me, does Shakespeare have Kazuya Mishima turning into a devil and shooting a laser beam into space, destroying every single satellite, and then challenging the entire world to a martial arts tournament to decide who becomes ruler of the world, all while the satellite debris he created makes shooting meteors across the sky? I didn't think so. Which brings me to the main core of Tekken 8, its gameplay. For many years, the main core tenet of Tekken has been movements. Evading and baiting out attacks for the player to then punish has always been the name of the game. This meant the main thing high-level players often did in matches was simply backdash and create distance. But in Tekken 8, the game encourages players to be offensive, with new mechanics such as chip damage, recoverable health, and the signature heat system. The heat system adds an extra layer to Tekken's core gameplay, granting the player access to extremely damaging moves, more opportunity to regain health, and even more pressure on the opponents, forcing them to block. Similar to Street Fighter 6, rather than simplifying the game's core design, many new fighting games add an extra mechanic to make things even more chaotic. The challenging and fun part is controlling the chaos, using the new tools to counteract and counter your opponent's counters. But it is still easily accessible, with many of the moves streamlined and the game giving the player simplified control options that can be accessed with a press of a button. Not to mention a much improved training system boasting frame data tools, a more detailed move list, and a better explanation of how to punish characters' different abilities. Tekken 8's core gameplay is still fun and challenging for high-level players, creating exciting, hype-filled moments to watch. But it's also accessible to newcomers and doesn't take much to get to this adrenaline-inducing feeling. It also helps that the animations and sound design carry a huge amount of impact. Finally, there's Arcade Quest and Tekken 8's online mode. Arcade Quest essentially serves as the game's tutorial. The player creates their own avatar and goes on a journey to be the best Tekken player in the world. It simulates the classic feeling of going to arcades and competing in tournaments, forming local rivalries, and challenges the player to learn and get better at the game to overcome opponents. Unfortunately, this mode doesn't go too in-depth regarding the intricacies of Tekken. It doesn't teach players anything about frame data, backdash canceling, or whiff punishing, all concepts essential to really getting good at fighting games. However, I'm glad the mode is at least here, providing at least something to help beginners get started.
필살기 같은 건 없어?
For those looking to take their mettle online, I'm also happy to report that Tekken 8's online features and netcode have been smoothed out from Tekken 7. Getting into and starting matches is no longer a laborious process, having to go through one loading screen into another. Tekken 8 did suffer from server issues at launch, and playing other people across platforms has some big hiccups and can cause some delays and buffering. But overall, the experience is much smoother than Tekken 7's. There is so much more I could praise Tekken 8 for. From the game's robust cast of old and new standouts, the top-notch head-banging music, Tekken Ball, the game's customization, and the game's community support. These are all outstanding aspects of what makes Tekken 8 a must-play for anyone interested in the genre. Did I also mention that this game is really pretty to look at? How can I forget when the game's main menu likes to remind you of this fact by letting you stare straight into Kazuya's beautiful, hairless chest? Tekken 8 has spent a long time in the making. It's been 7 years since the release of Tekken 7, and ever since then, the series has only grown in popularity. But it never stopped improving since then. Tekken 8 shows just how far the series has come. Much like Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8 pushes the fighting game genre even further, raising the standard for what a fighting game should be and what should be packaged in it. For the longest time, fighting games have always been considered a niche genre, with more popular esports rising to take its place. But new releases like Tekken 8 show that the genre has the money, the ability, the drive, and the passion to retake its place as one of the best genres in games. Tekken 8 gets my highest rating of 5 out of 5. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. If you like what you see, feel free to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Tell me, what are some of your favorite fighting games down in the comments? I'll be happy to check those out as well. New videos drop every Thursday, so come back next week for even more of the best that video games have to offer.